Hi Math Soldiers, today's video is going to be about operations with integers. As you guys know, the basic math operations are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers with same signs and different signs. So I have the rules right here. When we add or subtract two numbers with same signs, we keep that sign and we add. When we add or subtract two numbers with different signs, we keep the sign of the larger number and then we subtract. Let me do some examples. Example 1. Let's say I have -7 plus 3. Now over here I realize that I have a -7 and I have a +3. What does that mean? How do I add that? I have two numbers with two different signs, so I keep the sign of the larger number and then I subtract. If I look at 7 and 3 without their signs, which one is larger, 7 or 3? Of course 7 is larger than 3. So I keep the sign that the 7 has. The 7 has a negative in front of it, so I'm going to keep that sign, and then I'm going to subtract 7 minus 3, which is 4. So the answer is going to be -4. Now let me do another problem. Now let's say I have -11 minus 3. Now in this case, I have a -11 and I have a -3. So I realize that I have two numbers with the same sign. So in this case, I keep that sign and I add those two numbers. So they both have a negative sign, so I'm going to keep that sign and add 11 and 3. 11 plus 3 is 14, so the answer is going to be -14. Now let me do another problem. Problem 3. Let's say we have 12 minus 3. Now in this case, I only see one sign. I only see -3. How about 12? Does 12 have a positive or a negative sign? Now you guys have to know that anytime you have a number without a sign, that number is a positive number, and it always has a positive sign in front of it that we don't see. So I'm going to put that plus in front of the 12, and now we have a +12 and -3. That means I have two numbers with different signs. I keep the sign of the larger number. If I look at those two numbers, 12 and 3, I realize that 12 is bigger than 3, so I'm going to keep the sign of 12, which is plus, and I'm going to subtract 12 minus 3, which is 9. So the answer is +9 or just 9. Now let me do another problem. Problem 4. Now let's say I have -5 plus 3 minus 2 plus 1. Now in this case, I have four numbers adding and subtracting each other. How do I do that? So I start working from left to right. I'm going to first add the first two numbers. I have -5 plus 3. Those are two numbers with different signs. I keep the sign of the larger number, which is negative, and I subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. Now I'm going to rewrite -2 plus 1. Now again, I'm going to start working with the first two. I have -2 minus 2. Those are two numbers with the same sign. You keep the sign and you add. 2 plus 2 is 4. I have -4 plus 1. -4 plus 1. Those are two numbers with two different signs. I keep the sign of the bigger number, which is negative, and I subtract. 4 minus 1 is 3. So the answer is going to be -3. So now you guys know how to add and subtract numbers with same signs and different signs. How about when we multiply and divide numbers with same signs and different signs? How do we do that? I have the rules right here. When we multiply or divide numbers with the same sign, the answer is always positive. When we multiply or divide numbers with different signs, the answer is always negative. So if you have a positive number, multiplying a positive number, so those are two same signs, the answer is positive. Again, when you multiply a negative number with a negative number, the answer is going to be positive because they're both same signs. But when you multiply a positive with a negative, the answer is a negative. And the same thing, when you multiply a negative with a positive, the answer is going to be negative. The same thing with a division. When you divide positive by a positive, the answer is going to be positive. When you divide a negative by a negative, the answer is going to be positive. When you divide a positive by a negative, the answer is going to be negative. And when you divide a negative by a positive, the answer is going to be negative. So let me go ahead and do some examples. Example 1. Let's say I have negative 2 times 4. How do I do this problem? Now you guys see that 4 doesn't have a sign in front of it. So right away, like I said before, I'm going to go and put a positive sign in front of it. Because anytime you see a number with no sign in front of it, you have to know that it's always a positive. So now I'm multiplying here. Now I have a negative number multiplying a positive number. If you look at the rules, it says that when you multiply numbers with different signs, the answer is always negative. So it's going to be negative. 4 times 2 is 8. So negative 2 times positive 4, the answer is negative 8. Now let me do another problem. Problem 2. Now let's say I have negative 3 times 2 times negative 4. So in this case, I have 3 numbers, so I'm going to start multiplying from left to right. Right away, I'm going to go and put a positive sign in front of the 2. So now I'm going to multiply negative 3 times positive 2. Those are 2 numbers with 2 different signs, so it's going to be negative 6. Now I'm going to rewrite times negative 4. Now I'm multiplying negative 6 times negative 4. Those are 2 numbers with the same sign. The answer is always positive. 6 times 4 is 24. So the answer is going to be positive 24 or just 24. Now let me do another problem. Problem 3. Let's say I have negative 4 times negative 2 times negative 6 times positive 2. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a positive sign in front of the 2. And now I'm going to start multiplying from left to right. I'm going to multiply the first 2 numbers. Negative 4 times negative 2, those are 2 numbers multiplying each other with the same sign. It will become positive. 4 times 2 is 8. So it's positive 8. Now I'm going to rewrite times negative 6 times positive 2 equals. Now I'm going to multiply the first 2. Positive 8 times negative 6. Those are 2 numbers with different signs. The answer is always going to be negative. 8 times 6 is 48. So I have negative 48 times positive 2. So now I have negative 48 times positive 2. Those are 2 numbers multiplying each other with different sign. The answer is going to be negative. 48 times 2 is 96. So the answer is going to be negative 96. So now that you guys know how to multiply and divide numbers with same signs and different signs, and you also know how to add and subtract numbers with same signs and different signs, let's go ahead and do a problem where we add, subtract, and multiply all at the same time. The rules of signs are right here. I'm going to leave them here so you guys can follow them while we do the problem. Now let's say we have negative 9 minus 7 plus 3 minus negative 5 minus 8 plus negative 10. Now, how do we do this problem? The first thing that I'm going to do is just clean up the expression. By clean up, I mean I'm going to take those numbers that are in parentheses, I'm going to take them out of the parentheses. And then after that, I'm just going to work from left to right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write it here, clean up the expression. And then I'm going to work from left to right. Okay, so if we look at this problem, we see that negative 5 and negative 10 are in parentheses. How do we take them out of parentheses? You guys have to know that if in front of parentheses you only have a negative or a positive, there's always going to be a 1 that we don't see. So this negative 1 here is multiplying the negative 5. Also, this positive 1 is multiplying the negative 10. So let's go ahead and do that first. We have negative 9 minus 7 plus 3. Now I have negative 1 times negative 5. Those are two numbers with the same sign multiplying each other. It's going to be positive. 1 times 5 is 5. Now I have minus 8. And now I have positive 1 multiplying negative 10. Those are two numbers with two different signs. The answer is negative. 1 times 10 is 10. So now I see that I don't have any more numbers in parentheses. I don't have any more multiplication. So I'm just going to keep working with the rules of signs 1. So I'm going to start working from left to right. So first I'm going to start with the first two numbers, negative 9 minus 7. So those are two numbers with the same sign. I keep that sign and I add. 9 plus 7 is 16. Now I'm just going to bring down the plus 3, plus 5, minus 8, and minus 10. Now again, I'm going to work with the first two numbers. I have negative 16 plus 3. Those are two numbers with different signs. You keep the sign of the larger number, which is negative, and you subtract those two numbers. 16 minus 3 is 13. Now I'm going to bring down the plus 5, minus 8, minus 10. Again, I'm going to work with the first two numbers. I have negative 13 plus 5. I keep the sign of the larger number, which is negative, and I'm going to subtract 13 minus 5, which is 8. Now I have negative 8, minus 8, minus 10. Again, I'm going to add the first two numbers, negative 8 minus 8, two numbers with the same sign. You keep the sign and you add. 8 plus 8 is 16. Now I have negative 6. Now I have negative 16 minus 10, two numbers with the same sign. You keep the sign and you add. 16 plus 10 is 26. The answer is going to be negative 26. Okay guys, so that was the end of the video. I am sure now you guys know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers with same signs and different signs. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I will see you guys in the next boot camp. Don't forget to subscribe.